Hi everyone and what's up guys. In this video we're gonna take a look at creating a player and giving functionalities to our player. So let's get started. First of all, we need to import our player graphics, so our player appearance. So for that you see in the description link, and via that link you can download all assets that you need with creating this game. So to this folder of assets and just drag and drop our player right to the screen. And let's minimize this folder and we see our player. So our player is actually some kind of circles, smiley, I don't know, but this is just the appearance or graphics of our player. So we need to just, instead of this of player, type here graphics, like this shortcut here, so graphics, and this will be just the graphics, as I said, and appearance of our player. But in order to create a real body, like a body of player, we need to go here to the hierarchy panel. So right click here, go to the 3D object and choose a sphere, because our player has the shape of sphere. And we see now that we created a sphere here. So we see that our sphere has this mesh filter, sphere collider and mesh renderer. And we talk about these components in the tutorial about C#, and just we need to remove this sphere collider, because this sphere collider is for 3D colliders, 3D mode actually, and we need to go here to the add component and attach a sphere collider. So no sphere collider, excuse me, but circle collider. So circle collider 2D, and now we add a circle collider that is collider of our sphere. And now we just need to click here on the graphics and just drag and drop it right to the sphere here in the hierarchy panel. And just let's center it. And we move our graphics right to the sphere, but we see that our player doesn't look very nice, doesn't look like a player. So in order to set up our player, we need to just go here for the graphics and choose the scale to be 0.75, and for the Y also 0.75. And for the sphere, which is actually our player, so just rename it from the sphere to the player. And from the our player we need to just rescale our player to the 2, and for the X actually 2, and for the Y also 2. And now when we run the game, for example, we see that we just see here a sphere that doesn't look like our player, so we doesn't see actually a graphics of our player. So this is the graphics that is below our sphere actually, and in order to see the graphics we need to just go here right for the position, and from the Z-axis we need to pass here 13, and from the our player actually we need to pass -13. And now we see that our appearance or our graphics actually of our player appear here, and now when we run the game we see that we have our player in the game. So now our player look like our player actually. So now that we are set up and create the body of our player and appearance actually, we need now to give the functionality to our player. So we need actually to program the behavior of our player, like moving, I don't know, and for that of course we need a C# script. So go here to the folder that we have created, so scripts, and just right click here, go to create and choose a C# script, and name our script just a player. So now we created a C# script in which we will program the behavior of our player. So just click enter in order to our Visual Studio open our script. And now we enter in our player script. So first thing that we will do in our player script is gonna creating a variable. So whenever we started to program some behavior in our C# scripts, we need to begin with creating a variables for that behavior. So currently we just need to have one variable, and that variable will control just the speed of our player. So we will create here private float speed variable, which is equal to 10f by default. So again, we created here just a float variable which has the name speed and which has a value of 10. And now we're gonna delete this start method because we don't need it in our case, but we just need one function that we will create on our own, and we will call that function in the update function. So currently we just need to create one function, and that's going to be just a void player movement function. So player movement, parentheses, curly brackets, and we created and player movement function. So in this function we're gonna simply going to program the movement of our player. So our player will be able to go left and right, up and down, and this will be just the behavior of our player, or actually movement. So in this method we're gonna program that kind of behavior. So we are going to start by creating float age variable, which is going to be equal to input, so input.getAxis, and in the parentheses we're gonna type horizontal. And also for the vertical we're gonna create float v, which is equal to input.getAxis, and in parentheses it is going to be just a vertical. So what we did here, so we created a float variable which has just the name of age, and in that age variable we store this code, and this code is input.getAxis horizontal. So this will just control the horizontal movement of our player, and there we do just same thing, just instead of horizontal this will be controlling of vertical points of movement of our player. So moving forward, what also we're gonna do is creating another function, and that will be transform.translate. So there is transform.translate, and we see that transform.translate just take vector 3 translation, moves the transform in the direction and distance of translation. So our x translation or direction will be our age that we are providing here, which is actually a horizontal. So our age variable, which is going to be multiply with our speed, and multiply also that by time.delta time. And all of this is just for the x-axis, but for the y-axis we're gonna take this vertical. So we created here float variable which we store here vertical points, and for the y we're gonna use that vertical points that we have created. So we multiply with also in the parentheses, or parentheses, speed, and also multiply that by time.delta time, one another brackets, and also for the z we're gonna leave that as 0. And now we created a behavior of movement of our player. So now that we are finished our player movement function, we need to call this function in some default functions like start or update. But as I said, we don't need start method for this kind of behavior, we need just an update method, and we are just to call this player movement function into our update method. So don't forget that, otherwise this will not work. So I will once again explain what we did here. So we just create here a private float speed variable and create here method on our own. So we created age controller which control the horizontal movement, y controller, and we created here just this function that actually take this control right on our player. So transform.translate, pass all of these that we have created here in our transform.translate via this speed that we have created here, and we call all of these in our update method here. So now when I save all of this and go back to Unity and run the game, we see that we cannot yet move our player. Why? Well, because I forgot to attach this player script on our player game object. So as I said numerous of time, in order to some script work, we need to attach that script on some of our game object, and that is of course our player. So player script on our player game object, and now when we run the game, we see that now we can move our player left and right, up and down, and we see that everything works just fine. So we can move our player by using and typing on our arrows on our keyboard, and we see that this is actually some kind of smooth movement. So again, we move our player on arrows on our keyboard, and that is whole philosophy about this programming of this movement, and this is very nice movement of our player. So I think you learned something new in this video, guys. Thank you for watching, and in the next video we will proceed to develop our game. Thank you.